iGEM. It is really wonderful to be with you here today. As I said, my name's Megan Palmer. I'm the Executive Director of Biopolicy and Leadership Initiatives at Stanford University. I am a longtime friend and definitely a fan of iGEM. And I was there when it first started at MIT. I wasn't actually an advisor to a team, but I was one of the early photographers of the competition, taking a lot of those early iGEM from above photos. And I saw the excitement and the potential of this field and spent about a decade working on some of the human practices related programs within the competition. And it's just so exciting to see the energy in the room here and to all be together in Paris. And our topic today is synthetic biology everywhere. Really. And a core vision tied to the development of this field through iGEM was to enable everyone, everywhere, to be solving problems in partnership with biology, from the very local to the global. And this is so central because it proposes that if we want to develop this technology to truly be in the interests of all people and the planet, that we have to directly involve everyone in its development, right, at the ground, everywhere.
Yeah.
And if there's anything I've learned from iGEM, is that really amazing things happen when you involve everyone from the earliest stages, right? When you get to see their ideas, their inspiration, use their skills, and really learn from their dreams and aspirations. And so we're really here today to talk about what we can do. And as Megan said, we've made a lot of progress, right? We're 19 years into iGEM, and you're coming from many different places. So actually, who here is from South America? Okay, we have a good contingent in there. Yeah, we can cheer. We can cheer, right? Yeah. Who's from North America? Okay, some cheering. Who's from Africa? All right, yeah, lots in the back there. Good. Who do we have from Australia, Oceania? All right, over there. We have big arms over there. Who do we have from Asia? All right, oh, yeah, we got some in there. And who do we have from Antarctica? Yeah! Okay, so yeah, you have to grow the synthetic biology ecosystem there. Yeah, we're great. Okay, so we're going to talk about how we continue to make progress. What are the opportunities and challenges for continuing that vision? And we have with us an amazing panel to share their stories and their visions of how we do this. We won't have the capacity to take questions today, but please use iGEM 2022 hashtag and Synbio for everyone, because we need to continue this discussion and we have a lot of work to do. So would love to hear your ideas. So to begin, I'm likely going to mess up some of the names here, so please help me. We have Maha Arajanan. Maha is the Global Coordinator of the International Service for the Acquisition of Agrobiotechnology Applications, or ISA? Yeah, that's right. She's also the Executive Director of the Malaysian Biotechnology Information Center, and she's working to develop, in the developing world, to create the political will to embrace innovations brought about by modern agrobiotechnology. She's the founder and editor-in-chief of the Petri Dish, and I think we have copies of the Petri Dish here today, if you want to, which is Malaysia's first science newspaper and serves as a communications specialist with the FAO Biosafety Program in Sri Lanka. There's many other things that I could say about her accomplishments, but she was listed by Scientific American in 2015 as one of the 100 most influential people in biotech, so we're very lucky to have you. Thank you so much. Then we have Benson Kinyagia. Benson and I had the great fortune of working together on a World Economic Forum Global Future Council on synthetic biology. I've had some great conversations there. He is the principal scientist at the National Commission for Science, Technology, and Innovation in Kenya. His work focuses on emerging technology adoption for socioeconomic development and environmental safety and security. He's really been a champion for spearheading efforts to build synthetic biology capacities in universities and research institutions. and he's a member of the Environmental Institute of Kenya and served on the ad hoc technical expert group on synthetic biology for the Convention on Biological Diversity. Thank you so much, Benson, for being with us here today. Then we have Taslim Syed. Did I say it right? Good. Okay. Is the CEO, Director, and Discovery to Innovation Accelerator Program Lead of the Center for Cellular and Molecular Platforms. It's a mouthful, but it's also called CCAMP. And his initial training was in neurosciences and received his PhD from Max Planck Institute for Brain Research in Germany. He also did postdoctoral training at UCSF and underwent training in management in biotech from QB3 in UC Santa Cruz. So we weren't too far away from each other, also at UC Berkeley and UC San Francisco. All right, and last but certainly not least, we have Alejandra Sierra Aguilera. Did I do it?
Nice. Yeah.
Thank you. Okay. Is a professor of clinical management and marketing at Mariano Galvez University, head of biological programs at UMG Labs, and a researcher at the Institute of Grapevine and Wine Sciences. I would like that position as well. And co-owner of Rana Parda, a veterinary products company. So many, many different roles. But among them, she also served as the first woman president of the Intersectoral Biotechnology Commission in Guatemala. Thank you so much for all joining us here today. And so I want to have this discussion in three parts. First is really the stories and the lessons learned. The second is the challenges and strategies. And the third is our vision for the future. So just begin. Maha, you have you founded the first biotechnology newspaper in Malaysia, and you've been such an advocate, especially for women in STEM. Why did you start these initiatives? What opportunities did you see? And what have the successes been?
Okay, so I'm a science communicator. I call myself a science communicator. I'm trained in microbiology, biochemistry, and biotechnology. That was for my first degree and my master's. But then I did my PhD in science communication. And when I went into this, just like all of you, you got into synthetic biology, such a new field, emerging field. In many countries, it's still new. So when I got into science communication, it was also new. But what motivated me was the gap. There was a huge gap between scientists, society, and other stakeholders, policymakers, media, students, consumers, mothers, and patients. So I thought, someone must repackage science. Science is complicated, boring for many people, difficult for many people. So I wanted to repackage that, and that is how I went into this field. And that is also why I founded the first science newspaper in Malaysia. Please reach out to me later. I can give you copies, The Petri Dish. And basically to put science on the headlines. And you don't see science on the headlines a lot of time, except for the pandemic. So that was the reason why I did this. We'll talk more about this.
Fantastic, fantastic. Benson, you've done so much work, also partnering with different nations and different investigators to figure out how do you build Synbio ecosystems on the African continent. What are the sort of unique opportunities and challenges given the scale and geographic diversity of what's occurring there?
Thank you so much, Megan. The issue of synthetic biology concern for Africa came to us during the discussion of COP meeting in Korea in 2014. And when the issue came to be discussed, and we were nominated to be part of the ad hoc expert group, we were supposed to come up with an advice to the COP meeting on how to regulate the technology. And then it came upon me, and we had just come from 2012 when we had banned GM in our country. And the reason why GM was banned was because of a lot of misinformation. And we really didn't want regulation to come ahead of capacity building. And that's when I started engaging the experts. And we happened to be the same team with the Paul Fremont of Imperial College. And I requested Paul, can you come to Africa and we start creating awareness about synthetic biology. Before now, the issue of regulation comes so that we are able to regulate this technology out of an informed platform rather than where misinformation come ahead of the regulators and the scientific community. And that's the time we he agreed, and in 2015, he came with a few team, and we were able to bring together our different research institutions, our academic staff that were doing biotech that time. And we also thought that this can also expand to Africa, to other parts of Africa. We brought on board in 2017. We were able to request for some grant from UK, and we were able to bring the rest of the East African countries, and we were able to create awareness. And this was also followed by countries like Uganda. They were able also to come up with a group, and they were also able to reach out to a mentor in the UK, and also Synbio Africa was born. So what we can say is that one of the biggest challenge in terms of bringing and building this network is that Africa still remains somehow divided along the colonial demarcations that were put there. And we are yet to have development in terms of network, in terms of roads, in terms of one common development block. But we also have some regional blocks. Like now in East Africa, in Kenya, where we have the East African community. That East African community, the Commission for National Technology and Innovation have come together. They have those commissions. We have the East African Commission for Science, Technology and Innovation. Me, I work for the National Commission for Science, Technology and Innovation, and one of the mandates is to promote emerging technology, promote STI, while at the same time regulating research to ensure that there is responsibility, there is stewardship, taking care of issues of research ethics, biosafety, biosecurity, and because of that, those regional bodies, they give us an opportunity. But then there is a challenge because of, we also have the Agrophone Africa, we have the South African, but we can use the blocks that are there, that is the ECOWAS in the west, we have the North African Alliance, we have the SADC in the south, and we also have the EAC now in the East African region. Those blocks give us an opportunity which we can use, but the main challenge I saw with the technology is that Africa, in terms of awareness, in terms of investment, we are still low. Yeah.
There's so much that you've highlighted there from, right, how do you get started? How do you work across, right, different regions internationally?
Yes.
Or across continents? How do you work within continents and building it? And also, how do you both promote and regulate while also communicating the potential? So, I mean, it's all of these coupled challenges that are really coming to the fore. And Taslim, I hope that you could maybe highlight a little bit of what you're doing. In India, there's similar challenges here, right, of how do you work across different regions and how do you concentrate capacity. So what have you done at CCamp? What successes and what made it work?
Oh, thank you, Megan, and good afternoon, everyone. First of all, many thanks for the invite to be here. It's a great opportunity, and first of all, the excitement is all about young building innovations to solve challenges. And to be around them itself is great. So thank you for having me here. Just to give you a perspective, what we are doing in India, CCAM, the long form goes Center for Cellular and Molecular Platforms by itself, suggests that what we are attempting to do is to identify deep science ideas, which are bold, which are risky, handhold them, and see if they can solve societal problems in broad areas of healthcare, agri, animal health, and environmental health. Because life science has a phenomenal, route to go to all these branches of healthcare, agri, animal health, and environment. We are supported by government departments, including Department of Biotechnology and others, which are federally funded. What has happened in last 10 years, and what's something I have observed in India, has been truly remarkable. I'm very, very excited about what's happening in India in terms of biotech innovations, largely where many exciting young talent, along with established or experienced talent, is coming together and taking on bold challenges in the broad areas of across these domains. But most importantly, what has happened is that we have been able to give them early stage support at the idea level, where they don't even have to form an entity. if I, as an individual, along with my friend or as an individual go, I have been able to get at that time around almost $90,000 to $100,000 to an individual to say and test out those ideas. And that is phenomenal. That is not only supporting bold ideas and taking away the fear of failure at the biotech level, but actually that is taking away the failure at the government level, that if most of these ideas are going to go up in the air, what will they report back to their the higher-ups? But that has resulted, and that is the outcome, that has now resulted as a very phenomenal looking biotech system, which is at CCAM. We have now invested in 335 biotechs, but we are in touch with nearly and have worked with almost 10,000 ideas or even more, and have been in touch with 2,500 biotechs, which have been doing very, very well in terms of 335. Many of them have actually shown very good work in healthcare, including medtech devices, diagnostics, animal health, and so on. Something that we are very keen to build upon is synthetic biology. We do have amazing rock stars which have come out of India. There are companies like Genome. My very good friend, Dr. Mulli, is right here. He's a, if I may use the word, he doesn't look like, but he is a veteran in biotech world. He leads one of the biggest association for biotech called ABLE. But very importantly, Genome has the ability to do amazing work in metabolic engineering and do proteins, peptides, and small molecules per se. But very important, another biotech which has done phenomenally well just recently enough, Megan, and I would conclude after that to come back to the next level, is called Synbio, which is using ability of microorganisms to convert global warming gas, which is methane, and convert into what you would call it as value-added products for non-human products for peptides, proteins, but also now to humans going forward. And this has been funded at the Series A funding level recently, around $20.5 million by funders and venture capitalists from Australia, Europe, and India together. And that is a remarkable story. They are already in the market and doing very, very well. What we are excited to do is to work with new innovations, and I gather that there are several Indian efforts also in this room. Would love to see how we can scale it up and provide the platform which is just after the idea stage, just after the early POC or proof of concept, and ensure that they go long way and do not stagnate after that. And that is the capability we have, and we'd love to expand that along with iGEM and see how we can do that. Thanks, Megan.
Fantastic. And again, you highlighted so many of the different ingredients that are going to be important here, right? From some level of public government support that can undergird the development of each of these ideas. But at the end of the day, we need great people with great ideas. And I think we're seeing all of that here. And to figure out how do we organize just enough to see the whole ecosystem flourish? And Alejandro, I was hoping you could pick up a little bit on this. What do you see as the opportunities around building those types of strategic partnerships in Latin America? I know you're very passionate not just about science, but also about thinking and training in management skills.
Yeah.
So can you share some of your experiences?
Yeah, for sure. Hello, everyone. I'm Alejandra. I'm representing not only Guatemala, but all Latin America. And woo, yeah, that's the feeling. Okay, what I want to share is that as a region, we have different challenges, for example, from Europe or from North America or from Asia. So when we get together in this kind of environment like iGEM or different competitions around the world about biotechnology or Synbiotech, we just notice that we share some of our challenges. So what I have been doing is doing strategic partnerships with laboratories in Latin America, because maybe for example, Brazil or Argentina or Colombia have already accomplished or overcome some challenge. So they can help us as a region, for example, to Guatemala, to Central America, or countries that are behind. The other thing is that I noticed that as a scientist, we lack kind of leadership skills or soft skills. So that's why I study a master's degree in like an MBA in biotechnology companies. So they teach me how to decide business models, or how to do scalability, or how do you know it's going to be sustainable, or how do you know that your idea is validated, that you can afford it, or how to create partnerships or get funding. Even though it's not an entrepreneurship, maybe you want to do a research project, or maybe you just want to organize like a conference like this in your country. So what I am now working with is with scientists, so I teach them these leadership skills, management skills, marketing skills, not to do a marketing job, but to understand the strategies. So what I'm doing is just get all together all the scientists and translated the language of business, so you are more empowered. And the thing is that when you are working to solve a problem in any part of the world, what do you need to understand is what are your strong abilities, and work as a team. And if you don't know something, like for example, you don't like public speaking, or you don't know how to budget, you just have to find the people in put it in your team. So it will be more interdisciplinary and successful team. So that's what I do right now.
Wonderful. So again, we see all of these important skills and capabilities coming together really within individuals, right, carrying forward their ideas. And I'm hoping we can maybe start a discussion on, like, you know, really, what are like the key ingredients to catalyze something larger, right? You've spoken about all of these different types of capacities that are needed. So maybe we can return back here, Mahat, just to start.
Yeah.
You know, I know you're so passionate about storytelling and also really like using the communication capacities. Can you tell us a little bit more? Like, is that the place you start, or what else do you see as being like the top 2 or 3 things that are needed to catalyze these systems?
Yeah. Yeah, I think science communication is also what Alejandra is doing. How do you communicate business? That's also science communication. Now, a lot of people think that science communication is only communicating science, so science looks fun or cool. No, there's more to science communication and why we do it. Like what Megan said just now, it is to create the political will. Because, you see, yesterday we read that GM mustard, okay, genetically modified mustard, is approved in India. That is so overdue. 15, 20 years ago, it was ready for commercial use, but the political will was not there to approve what the scientist has done. And today we see, I went around the room talking to some of you, and the science is so solid. But how do we get this science out? Now, one question I always tell my participants, my audience, is that with science we can do anything. I will say it's just, there's no impossible things with science. Elon Musk is dreaming about getting people into Mars. I'm not sure if it will happen in my generation or your generation, but it might happen in the next few generations. So I'm not questioning it. But is that what society wants? So that's the question we need to ask. What we do in the lab is exciting, fascinating, and it's possible. But is that what the society wants? Sometimes the society doesn't know what they want. Look at the pandemic. They thought they can live without vaccines. Today we are all here without our mask. I can see you smiling, nodding. I can see your body language without the mask because of the vaccine. So when the society, sometimes they do not know what they want, we have to say it in a storytelling manner, I believe, in a way that they understand that the science we do in the lab is important, is relevant, is impactful, is going to change their life, and it's important to keep our planet going. So this is what I do in many different tools, many different approaches. Yeah.
Yeah, and I think that's so important, right? How do we be both responsive, very humble, really listen to what the needs are in our communities, but also be, you know, be bold and be proud, as we spoke about today, of like sort of showing the long-term vision of what's possible. I know you've spoken about this, Tasleem, a little bit, right? How do you balance those? You know, how in practice do you help to convey the vision of what's possible while still getting connected to the very practical?
No, thanks, Megan. So something that possibly we are building on is that what we have realized across is many times as a scientist, our own efforts are phenomenally exciting. However, which can lead to phenomenal products or innovations, but sometimes those products are not directly, sometimes, not always, aligned to the need or the context of the need, which is very different. Exactly the same problem that you may have in climate in the US or Europe may not be the same possibly in Africa or India or many other places, or maybe within Europe and US there will be differences. How do you actually understand the problem very, very minutely and build upon that and then align your innovation for that is a very important task. And one of the approaches we have taken is to ensure that the innovators, when they are attempting to build something, either from scratch or during their journey, actually go in the ground and then work with the stakeholders to understand the problem per se, and then come back and say, are they on the right path or not, which is very, very crucial. That has been more productive and more efficient for innovators compared to when the innovators are possibly a little bit drifted away from the ground reality. And that is a crucial component, Megan, that we are attempting to ensure that we do it for all our innovators across.
Yeah. And I think we've seen this really celebrated within all of your human practices work through the competition, right? Starting off by really listening and trying to be responsive to the needs of the communities and really figure out what are the problems that can be best solved by biotechnology and synthetic biology. But this challenge still remains of, when you're trying to build something out of nothing, sort of where do you start and where do you learn? Right. So Benson, I was hoping you could expand a little bit on, right, you spoke about these partnerships that you had with the UK and then also building partnerships, across the African continent. Tell us, like, what's been the most important aspect of that? How do you have it grow over time? And what else do you need to take that from just a relationship to actually being a thriving ecosystem?
For us, what we did is that when we realized the importance of synthetic biology in the international arena and in Africa, there wasn't much that was known about it. First of all, we brought the biotech experts that we had on the ground, and we were able to start the discussion, and we looked at our challenges, and one of the challenges was health, the other challenge was agriculture, and we brought these experts and we asked them, what do you think of this new technology? Do you think it would add value in terms of detection of animal disease, crop and animal diseases? Would it add value in terms of detecting microbes that are critical to our health? And the answer was yes. So then we asked them, even if we may not be having a lot of resources, where do you think we can start? And the first thing was that we are all willing that we need to have this technology. And we were able to build up from the experiences of our partners. First of all, we had partners that were willing to come and on board, using their own resources and even to come and share their experiences. That was the first move that we really made. Then we also called our institutions. In our legal framework, Kenya was able to create a national research fund. That research fund, while it was not much, but it was able to give us some seed money where the proof of concept for these ideas could be proven. And we requested for that, and actually we did it with partners with ISA, University of Nairobi, another university called Kenyatta University, and also Institute of Primate Research, and each of them, and my institution, NACOSTI. For NACOSTI, we were trying to look at the policy framework, and also the Biosafety Act, which we already had, and we were asking ourselves, is it able to regulate products of synthetic biology? And that's the question we were dealing with. So what we are saying, can we use the resources we have to develop that which we don't have? Can we leverage on willing partners who are willing to work with us as mentors? And through that now, we have about 3 programs on synthetic biology ongoing in the country. And I have just read from the report this morning that 2 of them, we have 2 biosensors. One of the biosensors can be able to sense Vibrio cholerae in water.
Cool.
And we are now going to move to the next level, where the other one on detecting some viruses on crops is also has a very good progress. This one was built up on a very raw funding from our National Research Fund, and also from the partners who are willing to give expert advice without necessarily getting some monetary gain from the project, but they're willing to assist. What I found is that there are people willing out there to assist, and my call to our development partners, to the global north, where this technology has been developed, is that we all need to have intentional partnership. We need also to leverage on the resources that we have. In the global south, we may not have the technology, but we have the resources, we have the human capacity, we have a young population that is willing to participate in innovation, and we also have what we call the heritage, our natural heritage in terms of biological materials, the traditional knowledge people used to deal with issues of health, to deal with issues of agriculture, to deal with issues of conservation, which we all need in synthetic biology. Because synthetic biology is getting inspiration from nature. We still need to continue the conservation of nature. We still need to use these ideas. We also need to see if some of these herbs that are being used for medication, if they are not being replenished in nature, they will become extinct. So synthetic biology also gives us an opportunity where they can be developed through synthetic biology rather than depending on harvesting them and making them possibly extinct from nature.
There's so much here, and I hope that when you're listening to these stories, you recognize that all of the skills that you are developing through your projects, right? We always talk about how synthetic, iGEM isn't easy, but it's worth it. And how difficult it is to assemble a team from, right, a first-time team, or you barely have support, or it's just a few of you, and you're trying to figure out how do you get enough to make it to the Jamboree, which ideas should you work on? You talk to your friends, you're like, who can give me help? And that challenge, it doesn't end with getting here, right? You're going to do it again and again and again when you are, right, the leader in your country that has to assemble all of those resources to try to build many, many more teams. And so we are also learning from biology, right, as this like generative technology that also happens, we can be inspired at the social scale,
yes,
right, to continue to grow and build off of the resources that we already have. And again, Alejandro, I'd love to bring you in here because you've spoken about this, right? How do you build ecosystems and all of the different capacities? And so, yeah, what's the secret to success in your opinion?
I think the secret of success, you are already doing it. For example, you just think about the problem, how to create impact in your community. You are trying to get solutions. But for me, the key points are multidisciplinary teams. How many different careers are in your iGEM team, for example? Do you know someone that knows something about business models, or how to communicate science, or a lawyer, because maybe you don't know if your solution is with the ecosystem of the laws, for example. So you have to look at it and see your iGEM team is different careers, is different age. I know that normally you group with the university, but imagine that we can do groups without different countries. So because everyone, because of our culture, our background, have different forms to solve a problem, and it will be more intelligent. So normally create multidisciplinary groups. Second, for me, is being updated. You don't have to know how to do something. You just have to look for a good mentor. And where to find a good mentor? Maybe it's not in your university. There is a lot of things that happen here in iGEM. For example, in Latin America, you can go to all biotech, and there are more 300 people working in biotechnology. So maybe you don't know how to do certain stuff. You can go to your community, not just your university, or even not in your country or in your region. Maybe you read a paper that you like, that you want to work with. Normally, there is the mail of the principal research there, so there to write them, because normally people want to help. So you just have to look for the opportunities. But multidisciplinary teams, keep updated and keep coming to these conferences because you will meet people that have different needs, different challenges, different age, different nationalities, and you will learn from others. So that will be my thing.
So I'm curious, what can we do to really supercharge this, right? We're doing some of the right things, but how do we accelerate that development? Like, who else should we be recruiting, right? Or what careers and paths should all these folks be going into so that we're not, right, we've made a lot of progress in the first 2 decades. How can we make sure we make that even more exponential in the coming decades? What would you do?
Megan, I want to take it from there and also where what Alejandra was saying. Now, what do we do to go in the right direction? I think we have to look at the history. Now, history of not going back to World War I or World War II, but then the history of modern biotechnology. I just said in India, after 20 years, the GM mustard is just approved, and it was ready 20 years ago. Philippines just approved golden rice, and all of you know golden rice, right? It was ready so many years ago. So why the delay? So I want to be a devil's advocate here. Now, let's not get too excited about synthetic biology. Yes, it's fascinating. We see many things that's like we thought it was impossible happening right in this room. But let's not get complacent and then say like, I think it's going to be there out in the market. No. GM technology was there for decades. 44 decades ago. Only today we see one by one what is in the pipeline coming out. Yet many countries do not have their regulations in place. They do not have their biosafety framework in place. And even if they have, they are not approving. Even if they approve, they are not adopting. Remember, there's a difference between approving and adoption. And that is what we see in Europe. So let's not be complacent. Now, who should we recruit? Social scientists. You know, in school, we always say, oh, I'm in science, I'm elite. You know, you are in arts. Now, these social scientists are determining our direction. So we need to get social scientists, we need to get psychologists, because human behavior is what determines who gets elected to the office. Why sometimes in some countries we see, hey, this guy is so bad, but he still gets elected. Human behavior, how they think, the psychology. So why synthetic biology does not get the limelight that we want, the approval that we think it should get. GM is crops, GM medicines, mRNA technology is not going where it needs to be going. Political will, psychology, human behavior, consumer behavior, trade issues, business issues. So these are all non-science. But these are the factors that determine us, the scientists, and those who do science. So I think we need to look at all these areas.
And I think this highlights really how it's, right, often it's really not about the technology. A lot is about the technology, but it's about how we organize and govern ourselves to solve important problems using the tools and capacities that we co-develop together. So I'm hoping one of you will be able to speak about like how should we be organizing, right? iGEM is a competition, right? That is, or a co-opetition, right? Where we both cooperate and compete to build these systems. What strategies should we be using to organize ourselves as this community grows globally?
I'm happy to take a stab at it. I think we all know and that the field is here to explode, to be honest. We all know that. And it's about the timing. The talent is there. Clearly, talent is there. What possibly we need to bring in, and if I may just add, the other pieces of the puzzle which come running. We all knew that the RNA technology was being worked upon for cancer vaccines for years, but it got used and then took off when the COVID vaccine came around. That was a strong use case, a strong use case that the world wanted, needed, and the technology came in handy at that time. And I think we are just around the time when more and more strong use cases will come from synthetic biology. The world will take a notice, and most importantly, the final outcomes, the commercial returns, the economic returns, which is important for the larger system to stay put for a long time, are around the corner. To be able to build this as a structure, so those do not happen organically, but we can intervene, is to build something that you are already working upon as of today, is to build a world stage iGEM competition. Let's build a very creative, very nice vertical-based place where the different stakeholders, be it government, be it talent, be it the infrastructure players, be it the corporates, industry, and the VCs come together on one platform, and different verticals, when they are together, they can do that. And let's make sure that the talent and the opportunity which is happening here can be much more visible from the perspective of use case scenario, not the potential scenario, but the use case scenario. And I'm very sure that that could be a great leap from here, a great potential to realization of that potential together. I think working towards that will be a great way to do that.
So sort of to end our conversation, I'd like to take your challenge and hear all of your thoughts on, what does this look like in 2025, right? We've built an even, bigger, better iGEM and community around it. What would you like to see happen, and where are we sitting? Are we in Paris? Are we in Kenya? Where is the iGEM competition of the future? Why don't we go down this way?
Yeah, sure. I think it should be a country in Latin America. So Guatemala will be nice. So I guess we can have iGEM then in Latin America, so more of our region can travel and be part of this community. Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, I think it should come to Kenya. And I have a reason for this. Kenya just elected a PhD president who is a biologist. And the first 2 weeks, he lifted the ban on GM products. And now Kenya is free now to release the GM maize, the GM cassava that had been developed, the GM cotton, the GM potato that is on the Rhine. And the reason is because there was a lot of understanding. At one time, he was our Minister for Science, Technology, and Innovation. And we were able to explain to him about this technology. He understood it. And the moment he came to the office, the first of the few calls he made was to the National Biosafety Authority to know why there is famine in some part of the country, and there is a GM technology that has maize that can withstand drought.
Well, we better get him an invite to the Jamboree next year.
Yes.
I think we're already developing the panel.
And he said he wanted a brief on his desk. The next 2 days, he called the cabinet and said, we lift this ban. And therefore, you find that the political will now in my country is very supportive. Yeah. And I would say that let's not also leave them. Wherever we go, let's also call these people in our meetings. One, they are able to attract press. I don't know why, wherever the political leaders are, that's where we always find that the reporting in the media is more. And the conversation is even more engaging. After that, there is a lot of engagement. Some of our friends who wanted to come here and even go to COP cannot go because all the media houses want them to tell them about what they have been developing in the labs for the last 20 years. And it has never happened in the history of our country.
You're making a solid case here. I'm going to invite other of our panelists to also make cases here for where they would like to see it.
No, I think all the cases are good, but of course I'm going to go for India. No, but there are 2 reasons, and I'm not saying that these reasons are better than others. They are standalone. Two large reasons. India, and as you can see here, there are several teams from India, from academic researchers, who are doing phenomenal work. Young talent, amazing work. And at the same time, we have really thriving startup biotech ecosystem happening. What we do not have, and if iGEM, one of the mandate of iGEM has been to advance the field of synthetic biology innovation in a place, in a geography, I think it has to be India. It hasn't seen significant advancements as it has seen in other fields of biotech. Synthetic biology is around waiting for that to happen. And 2025, which is 3 years from now, is a great timing for us to prepare for that and ensure that we can do that.
Yeah, we better get started now. Will I be surprised at your answer?
Okay, I'm not going to bid for my country as a host. I don't mind iGEM being anywhere in the world, but I want iGEM to continue. What I'm giving you as a challenge is be the hybrid species that you are developing in your lab. What I mean is just don't be a typical stereotypic scientist. Be a scientist who is also a communicator, who is also a marketeer, who is also a regulator. And I always give this challenge. Take your phone, and how many media friends do you have in your phone right now? Now make friends. So the other challenge is network. While you become a holistic hybrid species, also network with people who is going to support and drive and champion our cause. So that is what I want to see iGEMers as.
Well, I have certainly made some new friends here today, and my hope is that in 2025, iGEM is in all of these places, and that we can't possibly fit in a single convention center, and so we really have to continue to scale in how we grow as a community. Thank you for everything that all of you are doing, and I look forward to working on this together to make sure that synthetic biology really is everywhere and for everyone. Thank you.
Thank you.